Alright, let's get started. Hello everyone, happy Monday. Happy Monday to you. I am not happy. I guess I'm happy. I'm happy okay. But I'm also pretty salty. I'm a pretty angry, aggressive, pissed off bitch right now. I'm a salty, salty bitch. I'm very salty. It's very unfortunate that I am so salty. Why am I salty? Well, there's a few different reasons. Patriots won. I was rooting for the Falcons. Um, let's see. I got dragged out of the house by my tattoo artist friend on Saturday night to try and be social, like real social, like with real people at a real party, and it was horrendously uncomfortable because there were a lot of people there who distinctly do not like me, mostly because my views are very controversial for ultra-liberal, far-leftist Eugene. But that's okay. That's fine. I did get a little too fucked up and was pretty much disabled yesterday, lost a day of work. That always makes me a bit salty. Why else could I be salty? There's a few things politics wise that's kind of driving me crazy. Little things that are just kind of getting under my skin. But honestly, there's just something about today that has me pissed off, really pissed off. I mentioned it on Twitter, but I was going around, I was watching some of the usual suspects videos. I have all these other videos that I personally have planned. I cannot put my attention or my energy into them right now because I'm so angry. And I'm watching Steve Shive's latest video that came out today, and I'm having like a violent reaction to it, like, ooh. And nothing he's saying is necessarily that cringy or pissing me off. It's just, ooh. So, I found this video. Now, the video that we're going to watch together, and I'm going to have some points about it because I am really irritated about it, is done by a young man named... What is your name? Fuck me dead. I forgot what his goddamn name is. It's Owen something. Forgive me. I'm a little behind on it. Where were you? Where are you? There he is. Owen MacDonald. I am not linking to his video. If you really want to go find it, you go find it, whatever. But honestly, like, I just don't care. He's a smaller YouTuber, whatever. Now, the reason why I would even bother with somebody that sounds fucked up. The reason why I am specifically going to respond to this person's video is because I've known this person for a while on many different videos that had something to do with me, or I in some way was tertiarily attached to, and this person has repeatedly called me a racist, a sexist, a member of the alt-right. I have to tell you, I'd be a pretty shitty member of an alt-right. I'm married to a mixed-race wife. One of my best friends on the internet, Wizard of Cause, is a Jew. I have all these black friends. Like, fuck, dude, I'd be a really shitty member of the alt-right. I don't know. So, anyway, so this perpetually salty bitch has been always just nagging at me. Just absolutely terrible. So that's Owen. And by the way, you guys are also in the stream. The chat is in the stream. You can cancel the stream up if you want to. I'm not really going to mind too terribly much. If it gets, like, ridiculous, then, I don't know, I might kill it or whatever. But I figure it'd be kind of nice just in case we end up talking. People who watch this later can actually see what we're talking about. Fair enough. So, let's get this little thing in here. Let's fix the hair. Let's get beautiful. Let's get beautiful. Okay. Let's see what Owen has to say. Now, the title of this is Feminism is a Good Thing.
It's a good thing. Now,
cuts it off right at the beginning, says it in his description. It gets cut off. Feminism is a good thing.
now, I know this doesn't get said a lot, but it's quite clear to me that there's a anti-feminist vibe on YouTube.
Actually, I think that gets said a lot. I get called an anti-feminist all the time. I am not an anti-feminist. I do not believe that feminism has absolutely no value. I've never claimed that whatsoever. But I do critique feminism as I critique everything. I critique whatever it is. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a sacred thing that I absolutely cannot talk about. I find that idea not only preposterous, but insulting to anybody who is reasonably intelligent. It really drives me crazy. But the thing that right at the beginning, and even just the title of this, is just so fucking cringy, because feminism is a good thing. What a broad statement. First of all, feminism is an idea. It's a concept. It's a conceptual fucking structure. And it is not something that is unilaterally agreed upon by every single person who uses the term. You have, well, the dictionary definition of feminism says this, blah, 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 blah. But is that indicative of every single thing that happens with feminism? No. It's the same thing like if you try and make a broad sweeping statement like, socialism is bad, right? Plenty of people say that all the time. Socialism is bad. Okay, well, for Venezuela enacting copious amounts of socialist policies that happened last year, Venezuela fell into fucking ruin and collapse. Socialism was bad for Venezuela, at least in the manner in which they implemented it. We have socialist policies here in the United States. I mean, the basis for many of our civic programs are run on a socialist type of platform where it's unilaterally supported by a multitude of people. So in concept, the conceptualization of anything doesn't necessarily arbitrarily make it a good thing or a bad thing. It's how it's implemented, how it's used. And that's why I hate this, like, feminism has to be sacred sort of thing, because it's ridiculous and it means that it's above scrutiny. And if you believe that, go fuck yourself.
And that really has to change, I feel, because feminism is fundamentally a good thing.
How? I mean,
if you look at the world and the way it is, there's clearly a gender gap and inequality between the two sexes.
In what way? Specifically, in what way? Would I agree with you in a broad general term that there are gaps in between the genders? Yes, of course. Of course there are. I mean, just by basis of biology, there are differences between the sexes. I can't get fucking pregnant. By and large, my muscle mass will have the potential of especially in upper body strength, be larger than that of a woman's. This is just biology. Does that mean it's a gap? Sure. Is that social inequality? No. Are there gaps in, like, the different positions that people hold? Yeah, absolutely. Of course there are. Is there a reason for it? I don't know. Sometimes. One could warrant that the differences of behavioral models, which have a basis root in the different types of hormones that are flooded through males or females, might lead them towards having certain professions more appealing to them. Maybe you could make that argument, but it also isn't really a very good argument either, because it's, I don't know, just depends. It just depends. It depends on a lot of stuff. By the way, I'm watching the kiddo, so he might be, like, squirming around back there and making a little bit of noise. Ow, wow, wow, wow. Hey, Jeff, samurai versus knight, who would win? I don't know.
And I feel as though it's not really given fair representation in the media today. You see a lot of YouTubers finding exploitative clips of feminists who fit an agenda they can easily push. So,
and what is this feminist thing? Do you get to dictate who is and who is not a feminist? Is this a No True Scotsman sort of thing? And I hear this all the damn time. Like, okay, take for instance, let's pick one at random. Well, not at random actually, because I'm picking it. Bahar Mustafa. Bahar Mustafa is a feminist. She very routinely went around saying #kill all white men. You know, I thought it was wrong that she got in legal trouble because she said that, because I don't believe hate speech is... No. But can you say, well, she's not a good feminist? No, I don't think you can say that, because you putting that moral judgment on then makes you basically touting yourself as the ideological superior of somebody else. You understand that movement better than them. That's fucked up. That's so fucked up. That's like somebody saying, well, a real skeptic. I don't like it when people do that at all, in any arena at all.
So, for instance, you see a lot of women who are either overweight or loud or disabled portrayed as the average feminist and then used as a straw man to denigrate the rest of the argument. And I feel as though...
Okay, I will agree with you on that. I will agree that there are, in fact, plenty of times where somebody will point to the worst case example and say that's indicative of all feminism. Is that intellectually dishonest? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I genuinely think so. The thing that most people don't understand is like the internet culture and internet whatevers are not necessarily indicative of the majority of people on the planet. The majority of people who would identify as a feminist, I'd say the vast majority are probably good, decent people. They just have different sets of beliefs that believe in this or believe in that or whatever. The problem isn't those people. The problem is internet feminism. That's the problem. Because when you do have somebody who has a nice, evened voice and is very reasonable and trying to figure things out, they usually are called, like, not good enough feminists or whatever. And it always comes down to the loudest voice in the room. And the loudest, most extreme, most eccentric view is usually the thing people are going to be like, wow, that's fucked up, and I don't want to pay attention to it. Is it unfair when people do that? Sure. Absolutely. But I just, Aw, and I see Wizard of Cause is trying to get hold of me on Skype. I love you, Nick. I'll talk to you once I'm done with this. Before we continue, I was actually gonna invite a couple of other YouTubers on with me. I was either gonna try and get Nick, or I was gonna try and get that girl and a new YouTuber, Stuttering Soliloquy. I was gonna see if they were available, but I know that girl had to do college, and I'm not sure what Stuttering was up to. But I just decided to do this solo, so, you know. But they are both wonderful YouTubers. You should check them out.
That's quite unfair, because not only does this imply that these women are somehow lesser and somehow able to be mocked, but also it doesn't give a fair representation of what feminist ideals stand for.
Yes, and then also turning around and being like, critiques of feminism are indicative of people hating women is not very fair either. But you, yourself, have done that to me in the past, Owen. Oh, yeah, you have. Or if they, and oh, you've done it with more than just sexism, too. You have been a right prick to me many times.
And what feminism really is aiming to do. So, for instance, we can look at the situation of many women across the West as not what gender equality would represent. So you only have to look at the differences between women's health, women's representation, women's pay, women's status, sexual health, equality in representation, and you see the inequalities that lie across the world.
In the West, when you have something that is I want to say gross, but it's, you know, whatever. When you have a disparity or a disconnect between the different representation of women in various different aspects, that is fine to bring up and it's fine to talk about, but you have to do it honestly, and you can't get bogged down in ideology. And you do. Absolutely, you do. The usual suspects, like most notably, of course, is Christy Winters and Steve Shives, do this all the time, and they make these broad, sweeping, arbitrary statements. Now, the question is, do you need feminism in order to fight that? I don't think so. I think you can do that under whatever kind of ideology you want. Can you do it under feminism? Sure, whatever, fine. If it works for you, fuck it, do it. That's cool, whatever. But there is this idea that you have to employ only one specific ideological framework in order to address these issues. And a lot of times, these issues are manufactured as something that is not necessarily as big of an issue. You know, politics is a good example. We don't have that many women politicians, even though there are more women than men in the United States. Is that a problem? Well, why would it be? I mean, in some ways, it would be good to have a more representative sample that would have across the gender divide for the vast majority of people on the planet. Okay, but that's inferring that by necessarily being a man, you won't give a shit about women. And I don't think that's very fair fucking either. But also, women can run for public office. They absolutely can. Nom 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 nom. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. And it's something that, like, the body public can change. It can change it, you know? People get mad all the time, like, well, this vote didn't go the way that we wanted to. It obviously had to be the men, even though there are more women than men, you know? I guess it's just internalized misogyny, right?
And it's easy to pull up one or two stats and disprove this, but often there's more to
It's easy to pull up one or two stats to disprove it.
inequality than just statistics. You only have to observe how men and women are treated differently in different roles, and how seriousness is not to scale with the treatment of men and women.
I would agree. There is definitely not a seriousness by which men and women are treated equally. For instance, you have massive, massive amounts of celebrities coming out as, pro feminist women wanting to fight for this. The funding for breast cancer is massive. We play on people's emotions when we try and talk about some of the horrible things that are happening out in the Middle East, in the developing world, human slave trade in places like Mongolia. All over the goddamn place, but we use a very simple tactic to try and get people to pay attention to it, and it's always think of the women, think of the children, because by and large society perceives men or women to be more vulnerable than men. Now the thing is, here's the big question, is that something that you, Owen, would support, that we continue to use as a method of pressuring, seeing women as needing to be protected, even though it demeans their capacity for self-governship? Do we have to infantilize women to help them? Because lately, feminism these days seems to not think very much about women. Me personally, having known some pretty goddamn strong-ass women that could probably beat the shit out of me, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think that we should try and help people and provide for them as much as we can, regardless of whether or not they have a cock or a cunt. But then I actually understand what sexism means.
So you realise that there's a gender problem, but there are still problems that exclusively focus on women in the workplace and in the Western world. And it's important to have feminism in the West, not only to push ourselves towards true gender equality, but also to...
There was another one too, actually. There's another one. The representation about women's issues, blah blah blah. I can go full blown MRA on you and start citing all the ways in which men's programs are defunded, the ways in which men's issues aren't paid attention to. Like, I could do that. I could totally do that. But you're not going to care. You're not honestly, legitimately going to care, because there is this obvious dismissive attitude that that happens with internet feminism specifically. I'm starting to make the distinction between feminism and internet feminism, because I do know really good, hardworking, honest, sweet, moral, loving people who are feminists out in the real world, and they don't act like this. So in internet feminism, there's also this really fucked up thing where if you do go full-blown MRA and, hey, dude, what about fucking, circumcision, custody battles, the lack of social services for men, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they say, well, you should just go deal with that. And if you do, then they're like, why aren't you paying attention to women? And I don't think that's fair either.
Set an example and a precedent for the rest of the world. Because...
Somebody's asking, Jeff, are you a victim of domestic or gender violence? Yes, I was, actually. Quite a bit. I almost lost an eyeball.
Whilst there are problems with focusing on the West as the centre of the world, how can we expect things to progress in the Middle East or in other parts of the world that haven't quite reached the same levels of liberty and equality we had in the West, when we ourselves claim equality has been achieved and stop pushing for greater equality between men and women?
What more do you want? What more do you want? I mean, if you can come up with a coherent argument of what exactly we need to do next, I'll listen to it, I'll consider it, we could debate about it, that'd be fine. But so far as I have really been seeing lately, especially in the West, is that it is not a matter of rights, it is a matter of quotas. Now, that's not to say that there isn't the potential for threat for things like women's reproductive health. Is there a threat? Possibly. Possibly. Should we be watching to make sure that that doesn't become an actual reality? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if everybody thinks that like suddenly the evangelical right like completely fell asleep at the wheel and they've never woken back up while all this crazy social justice shit's been going on. No. They were still there. They're still there. And if they can get a foothold politically, they will. And can that have dire repercussions in certain aspects? Yeah, it can. It absolutely can. So should we pay attention? Sure. But come on, man.
How is that going to help feminists in Saudi Arabia or feminists in Africa?
How are you helping feminists in Saudi Arabia or Africa?
For instance, of regions of Africa? We don't. If we are too arrogant to assume that we've reached equality when we clearly haven't, then
How?
we essentially stop ourselves from promoting any further equality. And
How? How in the world? Okay, oh my god. How in the world does this work? So we fight for equality. We try and get all these equal rights. We achieve, at least as far as legal wise, equal rights for men and women, at least here in America, and I'm pretty sure in England as well. But there's just not quite enough of actual equality. We need more equality. Like, we got to an equal place, but now we need more equality, which... You're so silly. How then is like Saudi Arabia going to be like, well, you know, we would be equal. We would have equality for men and women. You know, stop, you know, letting people attack women when they're walking unaccompanied by a man. We would do that. We would change our whole thing. Our whole culture would change. If only those darn Americans and those darn British over there would just get a little bit more equality, then we would be equal. What?
us de-incentivize feminists in other parts of the world where feminism is perhaps more needed, and not to say that it's not needed here, but where inequality is easier to hone in on, we lose their strive, and it makes it easier for people devaluing equality in those regions to push down the need for feminism.
How? Do you think, like, imams are paying attention to, like, the latest developments in how we are establishing a more equitable dispersal of rights and understanding and job positions between men and women? And they're just stroking their beards like, yeah, once they get it, then we'll do it, you know. The fuck are you talking about?
To write it off completely, anywhere in the world, is counterproductive, because you essentially stop the pushing force for equality and allow genuine sexists to be normalized by assuming their ideas and beliefs are correct.
Let me tell you something, Owen. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. There's one big thing that you could try and tackle in society, in these places over here in the Middle East, places like Saudi Arabia, that could have an actual direct impact on helping women. It's called Islam.
But even beyond that, feminism isn't about hating men. I mean, I'm a man myself, and to imply that I hate myself would be silly on the grounds of feminism. But certainly it advocates for women to be given the same status and rights as men. And it's easy to point at laws like the Equal Pay Act or representation laws and say, oh, well, we've got those laws, but it's equal now. But that's naive, and it ignores history. I mean,
It's naive and ignores history. Okay. So we've accomplished something that beats what history was, right? We've corrected the mistakes of history, but that doesn't count because we're ignoring history? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. You know what? Let's try this. Let's try this again. Let's see if Owen can actually make a point. Let's see. Maybe we're missing something.
at laws like the Equal Pay Act or representation laws and say, oh, well, we've got those laws, but it's equal now. But that's naive, and it ignores history. I mean, you look at anti-racism laws, anti-homophobia laws, they didn't just eradicate these discriminations when they were established. I mean,
how the fuck would they? Did anybody think that they would? Oh, well, we made racialized discrimination in the job workplace is illegal now, so racism is fixed? Nobody thinks that.
Quite clearly, you only have to look at various politicians across the West to see that clearly racism and homophobia are still issues. So the same applies to sexism, in that there is still sexist beliefs in society, which...
Yeah, Of course there are.
need to overcome.
Overcome. Okay. All right, all right. I think I figured it out. So Owen's problem here is that we've put in policies towards social justice, legal policies to try and get things at least equal on the manner of rights. But his problem is that we have not eradicated racist or sexist behavior. Well, heads up, Cupcake, you never will. Never. You never will. Because the only way that you can actually prevent people from being sexist or racist or whatever is through brainwashing. That's it. Now, you can make certain actions illegal, so everybody, at least by the law, by the way that a society works, should be held to the same standards, and that's good. That's great. But then to try and state that people should believe only a specific way, that is wrong think. Wrong think. 1984, buddy, like, that is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It is every human being's right to be as racist or sexist as they fucking want to. The only thing is that they cannot then, in a manner that would infringe upon their actual legal rights within the country, utilize that in a negative way towards that person. That is what we legislate against. We do not legislate people's thoughts and beliefs. We legislate their actions. That's the fucking point.
And in many cases, they're upheld by people who
That guy T says, end racism, nuke the planet now. That's the only way you will ever get rid of racism. Yep. Gotta take off and nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
are claiming that sexism is over. I mean, again, you only have to look at the dismissive attitude that people have towards concepts like rape culture and the patriarchy. Two concepts that are
Oh, I see. So we need feminism because people have critiques about your make-believe. Huh.
been explained numerous times very well by various academic feminists.
Okay. Here's another one that really bothers me is this whole notion of get educated. And I'm gonna teach you what feminism is, or I'm gonna teach you what rape culture is, I'm gonna teach you what patriarchy is. And then if you still don't agree with me, well, there's something wrong with you because I taught you what it was. I have taught you what it was. You should know now. I taught you the whole damn thing. It's explained, it's spelled out for you right there. Fuck you. What the fuck? That's ridiculous. That means that I have to arbitrarily just accept everything, single thing that you say? How? Why? Why would I? And as far as academic feminists, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I could care less if they're academic feminists or not. If I find their ideas wrong, then I find their ideas wrong. And you can't be trying to play some sort of authority thing with me either. Keep in mind, it was feminists, not even academic feminists. It was just regular feminist reporters that got a Nobel Prize winning biologist thrown out of academia because he was making a self-disparaging joke that they took wrong. A man, Tim Hunt, who helped us understand the very basis of how a cell works. Yeah? All right? Somebody who is known by hundreds of young women as being very supportive of getting women into STEM, to actually mentoring young women and men, but he especially wanted to show that, you know, science could be cool for girls too. And he was very, very pro all about this kind of stuff. He was thrown the fuck out just because of feminine outrage. What? Not feminine outrage, feminist outrage. Because lots and lots of girls came to his bat, didn't matter. He committed wrongthink, Owen.
But which get ridiculed as these insane concepts. So, for instance, people hear rape culture and they think of like trucks driving around, pulling women off the streets and like gangbanging them.
No, we don't.
In the alleyways, when in reality, it's more to do with the way we view and discuss rape in society. And it's easy to say.
You know what I've never, ever heard coming out of the lips of anyone in America? Rape is justified. I've never heard that. Never heard that. I have, however, heard that rape is justified underneath certain holy edicts in other parts of the world.
Say that, oh, well, it's abhorrent and I wouldn't rape anyone. Then you look at the way it's discussed, and you look at how arguments around rape are presented, and you look at the victim blaming and often inadvertent societal pressures on women who face these sort of things, and sexual assault and sexual harassment.
I see. So somebody somebody talking in a manner that you don't like, and when they're trying to discuss rape, is just as bad as rape. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck you're supposed to be trying to get here, man. It's such a weak ass argument. It's a weak ass argument. Are there cases where it's obvious that rape was not handled in a manner that was warranted? Sure. And is that wrong? Yeah. Absolutely, it is. But does that make this like epidemic of rape culture? No. And here's the thing. I'll be generous. If you want to call that rape culture, go ahead. Go ahead. Call it rape culture all you want. I know you will anyway, so go for it. I don't give a shit. That's fine. You can classify that as rape culture. I, for myself, can see those things, say that they're not good, accept that they're not good, vocally state that that's fucked up, and I still don't have to use the term rape culture and think that term is absolutely patently ridiculous. And it also, sadly, ends up marginalizing people who did have to go through a rape. And that's how I feel.
And you have to really consider that rape culture is a thing. I mean, just the other week on Sky News, we saw a presenter and his co-presenter arguing that women who dress inappropriately, or in other words, show some more skin, leave themselves open to rape more. And that's a disgusting view, and that's one I would hope...
I'm not going to take your word for it, so I'm not going to comment on that. I didn't see it.
Most decent people would see as inappropriate and clearly not right. But the fact that they can argue this on a mainstream media source shows that there's still progress to be made. And as for patriarchy...
It's just that there's more... so the actions... Okay. So the actions of one broadcaster... Let me get this straight on. The actions of one broadcaster saying something that you find morally abhorrent is indicative that culture at large, the entirety of culture at large, needs to change. Okay, that's a little weird of a point to be making, especially when you yourself earlier in this video were like, well, it's unfair, you see, when you get this one bad example of a feminist, and that's why all feminism is bad. I mean, you're the one who made that fucking point, dude. Just saying.
Again, it's easy for people to conceive it as this, like, a table of men in hoods pointing at women and saying, oh, we need to shut them down. But, again, that's not what people who argue for patriarchy, argue that patriarchy exists, are saying. You only have to look at the structure of any organisation, really, in the West to see that women are not normally going to reach the top, or certainly less in proportion to their male counterparts. Like, look at, with world leaders, for instance. When a woman is a world leader, it's a big thing still, because we haven't achieved that equality where a woman and a man have the same level of chance to get to the top.
Wait a minute. So let me put this straight, or let me get this straight, because I'm really confused by this. An example of how men and women are not equal is how women can attain and have started to attain the highest office in their respective country. What?
So, like, leaders like Angela Merkel, Theresa May, Thatcher, and I suppose Hillary Clinton, had she become president, would have stuck in mind, because these women have like gone against the norms in society and made it to the top of their field.
And good for them. Good for them.
We still see under the system a disproportionate amount of women who are at the senior boards and senior parliamentary boards and Congress and whatever. It's harder for them to reach the top.
How? You just explained how they did reach the top. Who are you talking about? What exactly is your fucking point here? I don't understand.
As signified by any statistic about representation in any real organisation. Like, the fact that such a minuscule number of these women reach the top show that society still favours men. Maybe not.
Or maybe there just aren't enough women running for politics. Maybe there's something inherently that makes women not really want to seek out politics as much. I don't know. You don't either. But, I mean, this is just such a self-defeating argument. Women do not have equality and cannot reach the top. For example, here's some women who reached the very top. Ah? What?
Outwardly, it's just saying, oh, we're going to hire men over women. But certainly, inadvertently, women are still subject to this kind of discrimination. And for me personally, I don't think we can get rid of this until we get rid of capitalism, because
Oh man, I hope that triggered you, that guy T, as much as it just triggered me. Yes, by the way, I'm totally going retro, and I'm not. This isn't a sponsored video, but like I am drinking Surge. It's just as gross as I remember, but I kind of like it. It's weird.
whilst we have this system, we're not going to see a deconstruction of the hiring processes and boards that trust men more than women on average.
Citation needed.
But even without that, there's still equality issues that need to be brought up. And I know it's a common one to bring up, but the fact that a man like Donald Trump and the government formed of Republicans can exist and so openly attack and
Back up.
a man like Donald Trump and the government formed of Republicans can exist and so openly.
So what's wait, what the fuck did you just say?
But even without that, there's still equality issues that need to be brought up.
Okay.
And I know it's a common one to bring up, but the fact that a man like Donald Trump and the government formed of Republicans can exist.
There's you have a problem that Donald Trump and Republicans can exist?
And so openly attack and demean women's rights issues, so like women's health, hiring, discrimination laws.
Donald Trump hasn't done anything about hiring or discrimination laws. He has not touched any federal funding for, in our country, women's reproductive health. Now, if he does, I will have as much of a problem with it as you do. The only thing he's touched was money that was being sent to other organizations on the other side of the goddamn world. So U.S. taxpayer money being sent to organizations to the other side of the world to give information and to help perform abortions on people who needed them. Here's the thing. There is nothing stopping the average person who was paying for it anyway to then make now the conscious decision to go and send money to those fucking corporations. There's nothing that would stop that. Have you started giving them money, Owen? I mean, there's nothing stopping you from that. Then, so, like, the notion that this is actually a threat to women's reproductive rights, or that in some way he's, like, fucking up the hiring practices for women, I don't really understand how in the hell you could make that argument.
Just general attitudes and the way they speak about women. That exists, and the fact that they're at the top of the US.
Oh, so he has attitudes towards women that you don't like. Too fucking bad.
Shows there's still problems to be reached. You only have to look the other week where Donald Trump is saying to his woman in the White House that you have to dress like a woman, which again, like, you wouldn't say that.
I didn't catch that. Has that happened? I mean, I don't want to just take this guy's word for it. So, if anybody's seen it, like, just tell me in the chat if that's actually accurate or not.
If you didn't have less of a view of women, and that shows that there's still things that need to be reached to achieve equality. So the next time you see someone debunking feminism and saying it's a load of rubbish and that equality's been achieved, just think about how men and women are seen in the world and how there's still things that wouldn't happen to a man which happen to a woman. And then reconsider that feminism is rubbish. It's a good thing.
I need to just breathe for a second. Just need to breathe for a second. Okay, you know what? All right, we'll do this. I want to leave the chat up a little bit because you guys are having fun. All right, let's pull me over. We'll make me big. We'll do this. Yes. Cool. There you go. Chat away, kitties. All right, so I have a big problem with this. I'm really, really goddamn irritated with this. There is this perpetual battleground, and it's obnoxious. And I'm so sick and tired of having to talk about it all the time because honestly, social justice is really, really played out. But the thing that's just driving me nuts about this is these guys, this little incestuous fuck buddy cabal that honestly paints anyone that's a legit, decent, kind-hearted feminist like some sort of lunatic just by association, which is unfair. And I do see a lot of people do that, and I don't think that's very honest to do. But the thing that drives me crazy is they also lump in all these other things as well, and that's why I named this what I did. You know, this is social justice ideologues. This guy recently started getting in contact with Varmint Coyote, and that was the guy that me and Wizard of Cause did a stream on about Confessions of a Cultist. These are people who are so ingrained into an ideology that they forego any type of nuance whatsoever. This one example of somebody having a shitty attitude is why we need all these social policies and we need more equality, more everything, free lollipops on the weekend or whatever. Who knows? And it drives me absolutely crazy. Now, there are a few of them that I've been able to have decent conversations where we start engaging in nuance and we actually start listening to each other. This guy is not one of them. This guy is not one of them. And he also, at the very end, you know, if these anti-feminists and the trying to debunk feminism, blah 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 blah. No. I don't debunk feminism. I debunk people's concepts, the things that people do, that people say. If somebody says something abhorrent, like you did, I will tackle your ideas. That doesn't mean I have to absolutely, completely shit on everything. It's a lot of it, to be honest, too, and this is one of the other things that fucking drives me crazy, is that, look, you can get mad at people enjoying anti-feminist content, but you shouldn't, because you know it as well as I do, Owen, that there are plenty of people who, under the banner of feminism, say some pretty horrible, just intolerant shit. They say it all the time. All the time. It's a constant, obnoxious, babbling, cooing, crying, blah, and it just gets under your skin. So how can you then be so dismissive of people who want to blow off some steam and enjoy some fun videos from people like Bearing or Undoomed because they're so sick of all of the garbage coming from one side? It's nice to hear them getting taken down a peg. When every single day for the past year and a half you've had people saying if you're white you're racist, if you're a man you're sexist, until eventually you get so pissed off you really just want to see somebody get their ass fucking wrecked. That's what you want. That's what you want. I mean, look at my channel. Look at my channel, for example. I love using my channel for really important things. Talking about the horrible, horrible prevalence of child pornography on Twitter that needs to be fucking talked about. Debunking dangerous pseudoscience where people are literally squirting bleach up their children's assholes or putting a caustic, burning, corrosive substance on their fucking pets. Like, I want to talk about this stuff, and this is the stuff that matters to me a lot. But I also want to have fun, and I want to blow off some steam, and I want to talk about the social issues that honestly are fun to talk about because they're so ridiculous. And honestly, man, those also get the views. So in one way, you have to think about these things. Like, if you are so dedicated to only one cause, and it's just feminism, and it's not gaining traction, maybe you should try and mix it up a little bit, have some fun, and then very casually bring up the things once you have an audience of how to make a change. But simply just arbitrarily stating that society has to change because of these one simple little examples. You make self-defeating fucking arguments that make no goddamn sense. Women aren't equal. They can't achieve the highest ranks of power in their countries. By the way, here's examples of women reaching the highest ranks of powers in the country. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why do you bother with this shit? And don't even get me started on fucking feminist academic Christy goddamn Winters, who spends the vast majority of her time, rather than trying to fight for any actual women's issues, bitching about Sargon of Akkad and Bearing. What the fuck is wrong with you people? What the fuck is wrong with you? You don't have any fun, you never actually talk about anything truly important, and you knock down and disparage anyone trying to have a difference of opinion. Why? Because we're morally right. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck off. All of you. I'm fucking just so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. Zero chill. Zero chill, man. Yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it for that video. I didn't have anything else that I was going to do. And looking at the time, so unfortunately our poor doggy, she had a little bit of a lump, a mass. We're hoping it's benign. She's in surgery. She just got out of surgery like an hour and a half ago. So here pretty soon I'm going to have to change out of my pajamas, my work clothes, and I need to go and pick up my doggo. So I'm not going to be able to hang out with you guys too much longer, but I've been having a great time. Somebody wants me to shout out to JonTron. Well, JonTron's not watching me right now, but if he was, hi, John. In Chatelet, my Kekistani peoples, I love you so very much. I'm glad that you took some time to spend some time watching me rant about this really obnoxious little prick. I had to do something. I needed, and I feel so much better now too. It's a very cathartic release. I figure I would just stop and spend a little bit over an hour with just me and 40,000 of my closest friends. So I hope you all have a wonderful Monday. Thanks for taking this journey with me. I hope you feel better. I hope you feel as good as I feel good now. Love you guys. Bye.